Winter Roses, Autumn by Fairytalelovr, Chapter 21. It was their last morning in King's Landing, and so they were having one big, loud family breakfast. It was during a lull in conversation, when more sausages and eggs were brought, that Leanna cut through the good mood.
"Papa, what's a bastard?"
John dropped his fork with a clattering, and Ned choked on his ale. Without fail, everyone turned to where Catelyn was trying to disappear inside her chair.
"Where did you hear that, my love?"
Dany asked, her heart squeezing in her chest. John didn't deserve this, and their daughter was too young to even understand it.
"Lady Catelyn said it,"
Lyanna shrugged, unaware of the gravity of the situation.
"She said that I am a bastard spoon, and I am ugly. I know ugly, but what is a bastard? Is it a new food, Mama? And that's why you need a special spoon?"
Catelyn stood up quickly. "I am no longer hungry, so I will just excuse—" "Gather your things, Catelyn," Ned said in a cold and low voice. "I let you stay because of Sansa's injuries, but you have, once again, overstayed your welcome." "Jory!" he called, and the guard stepped forward. "Have someone escort Lady Catelyn to the Sept of Baelor in an hour, please. And you may tell the High Septon we will see no need for new visits." "Ned!" she started, terrified of losing her children again. "Don't make me repeat myself, Catelyn. Go gather your things. You are leaving in an hour with what you managed to get. I don't care."
"You can't help yourself, can you?" Arya said. "Why did you need to be so cruel?" Sansa asked. "Lyanna has nothing to do with this."
"I was only—" Catelyn tried. "If you ever speak to my daughter again," John said in a voice so cold it made the others shiver, though his face was hot and flustered, "I will not remind myself that you are the mother of some of my siblings. I told you once. I grew up having to listen to you belittling me, starving me, and leaving me to freeze. You will not be near any of my children, even with your words." Adam stood up, his chair clambering behind him. "Wait a minute, what?"
"Not now, big brother,"
Ella said, pulling on his forearm. "How could you have let that happen?" Adam said, turning and asking Ned furiously. "At the time, I trusted the woman who was my wife, because I thought her to be reasonable," Ned answered. "I judged her wrong, obviously. Get out, Catelyn. I won't say it again." Her lips trembling, she turned to leave. "Mother," Rob called, standing up as well, "don't bother sending any letters. I won't even open them."
"Son, please." "I told you not to mess with the pack again," Arya said. "And you did. You are incapable of changing, of recognizing the error of your ways. I hope Sansa won't fall for it again." "I doubt I will," Sansa said, the pain clear in her voice. Catelyn let out a sob and rushed out of the room. Dany took Lyanna into her arms and hugged her fiercely. "You are nothing of all she said. All right, my love? You are beautiful and kind and lovely." "But what does it mean?" the girl insisted.
"It means she is an unkind woman, and she is very, very rude, little love," John said, moving to her chair and putting an arm around his girls. Lyanna accepted the hug for a while.
"But Papa, how can she be mother to Uncle Rob, Auntie Sansa and Auntie Aya, Uncle Bran and Uncle Wickon, if she is not married to Grandpa?"
"Oh, but that is a very long and very complicated story," Dany said. John was still so upset he couldn't even speak, only hugging Lyanna.
"We will tell you when you're older." "I want to be older now," she said grumpily. "I want to know."
"But then you have less time with Mama and Papa."
"If you're grown up, You'll be moving away from us, and we will only write letters, not see each other every day,
Danny said. John shuddered at the thought, and Danny realised it hadn't helped him much as he wanted.
Oh! Leanna gasped. Then she looked around at the table. Like Uncle Wob in Winterfell and us home? And Grandpa and Grandma here?
She asked, and Danny nodded. Then Leanna threw her little arms around both her parents.
All right, I want to be little forever.
John chuckled, tightening his arms around her. He wanted her to be little forever as well. When Marjorie came into their chambers after saying goodbye to her family, she found Rob sitting in one of the armchairs, staring angrily into the fire. She came and sat on the arm of the chair, making him look up at her with a tight smile. "Would you like to talk about it?" she asked softly. Rob exhaled. "There is nothing to talk about." "Well, that I doubt. In matters of family, there is always something to talk about. Look, Rob, I know I'm new to the family, and I know we are only beginning to get to know each other. But if we want a happy marriage, we must trust each other. I cannot begin to imagine how hard it must be, speaking about your parents' annulment. It is something so unusual, different from the norm, that it cannot be simple. But I know your father, and he is one of the most honourable men I have ever met, or even heard of. I doubt he would have gone to the extreme of an annulment without cause. And I heard what John said at the table. If you don't wish to talk about it, I won't press you. But I just want you to know that I am here for you, to be friendly ears and comforting arms." He smiled softly and pulled her to sit in his lap, enjoying the easiness and comfort of their embrace. It was moments like these he wanted to kick himself for being so anxious and nervous about the wedding. Marjorie was a balm to his soul, a comfort for his previous loneliness. So he told her. He told her everything. What Catelyn had done to be sent away from Winterfell, how Hoster Tully, convinced Ned wouldn't take her back, sent her to the Sept, how she refused a smaller household in the north and preferred the Sept if she couldn't have Winterfell. "And it kills me that I opened up to her again, that I believed she had changed, that she had recognized her mistakes, and in the end it was all a lie. She was lying to get close to us again. She still thinks John has no right to be called my brother, that Lyanna is not my niece. She is still the same petty woman who would be cruel to my brother, who would pray for his death, who would pray against his children and his marriage, who yelled inside the Sept of Baelor in front of the mother that she prayed Ella would have no children." "Rob, you can't carry this inside you," Marjorie said. "But I trusted her. I really thought she had changed." "Of course you did. Because, for better or for worse, she is and always will be your mother. Don't blame yourself for expecting the best of her. If we can't trust family, who can we trust?" "Well, I won't trust her again," he said angrily. "That is your right, and I don't think anyone can judge you for that. But she deserved another chance. Now that you know that she is unworthy, then you can move on and never wonder, what if I had trusted her?" He smiled minutely, pulling her into a hug. "Thank you. I needed to hear this." Marjorie hugged him back and relaxed into his arms. Ned watched the movements at the harbour. Ella had been very grumpy that she was being left behind in bed rest, but she wasn't complaining much. Nothing mattered more than the safety of their child. Arya and Sansa were entertaining Lyanna, and Ned held little Adam, hating the thought of letting them go, but relieved they would be out of King's Landing. "Lord Stark!" Great John Umber joined them. "You asked to speak with me?" "I did," Ned said, checking around, but Jory and his men had blocked passage to where they were, and the harbour workers were too busy loading the luggage and too far away to listen in. "I am afraid I must ask a service of you, Lord Umber. You are my liege lord, Lord Stark. I live to follow your commands. Ned chuckled. Please, Great John, we've known each other long enough. We have indeed, the man laughed. You are my liege lord, but I have opinions. Now, what is it? Please tell me it's going to piss off the fucking lions. I have no intention of starting a war and killing thousands of innocents on a whim, Ned said. But Joffrey is dead. Sir Boris Blount is dead. And Tommen and Marcella are off to Dragonstone with the only Jaime Lannister to protect them. As far as Casterly Rock, we'll see. Tywin might start something, and if he does, the North won't bow to him. We sure as hell won't. Do you want me to gather the banners? Great John asked. No, not just yet. I want you to go to Moat Cailin and oversee the defences. Lord Robert is there in charge of the castle, but he did not come to the wedding. He did not see what happened. I won't like to send a letter across the Riverlands and be so easy to be intercepted. I would rather you went there and told him to be ready, to make sure he has what he needs to close the North. So, check the defences and make sure the moat can be readied as quickly in taking in refugees from the Neck. With pleasure, Lord Stark. The moat needs only a few archers. Should be easy. I know, Ned nodded. Lord Crystog will be helping Lord Starling with the navy. So, after you've made sure the moat is prepared, I would like you to go to Winterfell and make sure Lord Robb has everything in hand. He is a smart man, but young and inexperienced. We've faced enough wars, my lord, Great John said. Don't worry, I'll strengthen the North. Make sure we have enough provisions for a war, and that every castle is well manned and the walls are sturdy. Don't incite a desire for war, John. Ned said. We can't afford to waste so many resources this close to winter unless it's absolutely necessary. We can't starve our people because of a desire for glory. We're Northmen. Great John seemed a bit abashed. Of course, Lord Stark. Only ensure our defences are up to the task. I got it. Thank you, Great John. You are one of my best warriors. I know I can count on you. You don't need to butter me up, Ned. I do wish we could go and have a lion barbecue, but I understand what you are saying. The North is greater than us. I'll do it. Ned nodded, and the Great John left, yelling at a poor boy who was trying and failing to carry a trunk. A moment later, Mace Tyrell stopped next to him. I should thank you for your support and your indication, Lord Stark. Nonsense, Lord Tyrell, Ned said. Lord Willis proved to be a competent man for the job, and, as I am aware of his betrothal to Lady Winifred, it only made sense he should be able to get to know her better. Indeed, I must say House Tyrell is very glad of the match. Ned smiled, remembering Lord Manderley's comic face when Mace, at his mother's behest, proposed the marriage of Willis and Winifred. The poor northerner could barely believe his granddaughter would be the next Lady of Highgarden. I look forward to having Lord Willis in the small council, Lord Tyrell, Ned said. Mace smiled. You have made me a proud father, Lord Stark. I shall see you next year for the wedding. Ned nodded and watched him leave. Soon, too soon, Daenerys came. I'm sorry, father. We must go now, she said regretfully. Ned exhaled, kissing little Adam's temple. Grandpa will miss you, boy. Danny, whatever the Dornish promised. We didn't. John wouldn't tell me what, Ned cut in. But I know Princess Arianne Martell and Prince Oberyn suggested something, and I can make a good guess. Just be careful. War is an ugly thing. I know, she said. No, you don't, Ned said. I hope you never will. But each day, I think it is less likely. Just remember, the pack survives, Danny. Above all else, our family comes first. She nodded, accepting his hug and kiss. I'll miss you, father. I'll miss you too, daughter. Danny, we have to go, John said. Are you sure you're staying, father? Ned chuckled. I must, I'm afraid. Come on with us, Grandpa, Lyanna said, hugging his leg. Ned picked her up and hugged her tightly. I will visit as soon as I can. I promise. I don't like this village, the girl insisted. You come home, Grandpa. Ned smiled.
kissing her one last time before Danny came and took her little hand and took the children to the boat.
Be careful, son. I'm more worried about you, father, Ned said. If the Lannisters... I am prepared for Lannister retaliation, son. Don't worry, we'll be fine. But I'll send Sansa and Arya north as soon as the Maester allows it. If I may prevail on your ship, please, Jon rolled his eyes, I'll tell my captain. Not that he would ever consider anything else. I'll have him give me a better schedule of the next deliveries south, and you can send the girls whenever you want. Don't thank me. Everything for the pack, right?
Ned smiled and pulled Jon in for a hug. They went to where the others were boarding the boats, and final goodbyes were said.
Take care of your wife, Ned told Robb. She is a very special lady. Ah, and she makes you happy. She does, father, Robb said, blushing. And she will be thrilled to care for my siblings when you send them north.
Ned chuckled.
Ella won't let Rickon, Kraken and the baby out of her sights. For a few years yet. And by that time you'll have your own children to worry about. Well, that sounds like Ella, Robb chuckled as well. Just, please, don't worry about there being no one to take care for the children. You know you have raised me better than that. I know, Ned smiled. I may not have much to be proud of in life, but I know I can be very proud of my children.
Robb smiled, and they hugged before he went to help Marjorie into the boat. Once they were all gone, Ned hugged Arya, Sansa and Rickon closer, wishing once more for the safety and calm of Winterfell. Catelyn was half dreading, half anticipating, as she crossed the Scepter's corridors. Scepter Unella had just come and fetched her, saying she had a visitor. She knew it wasn't likely that it was her children, that Robb had left the day before, and Sansa and Arya and Rickon would be angry, but still... Peter!
Hello, Cat, he said, standing up to greet her. I'm sorry we haven't talked in a while. I didn't want to impose while you visited your children.
Thank you, and I'm glad you are here, Catelyn said. I must ask you something. Is it true you are the one who told Joffrey about Sansa and Lord Dane's betrothal? Right after I asked you for discretion. Littlefinger bit back a curse, but he had known this was coming anyway.
Cat, why do you think I would betray you? And why? What profit would it have brought me? None.
Ned said.
You know Lord Stark doesn't like me, Cat. You have always known he had taken his dead brother's side.
Peter said. Don't speak about Brandon, please, Catelyn said. Brandon would have really loved me. He wouldn't have forced me to raise his bastard. He wouldn't have set me aside and kept me from our children, she thought.
I apologize, Peter continued. By the time I arrived in the Red Keep that day, the whore had already been found in Prince Joffrey's chambers, and the king was already speaking with Lord Stark. How could I have told anyone? He asked.
Catelyn was too easy to manipulate, especially when she wanted to believe what he was telling her. Of course, she agreed. I know I can trust you, Peter. You're my only friend now. The only one who cares about me and stood by me at the worst moment of my life.
Of course I care about you, Cat. You know how much. I won't say it again, because you requested it of me. But you can always count on me.
Thank you, Peter. You're such a solace.
Unfortunately, this brings me to what I have to say. He exaggerated a sigh. I will have to leave a few of my men with orders to protect you, and provide you with anything you might need. I still have business in the city, so you will never be left unsupported. And we will still write, obviously. She frowned.
What do you... Wait, are you leaving?
I am afraid I am, Cat. I haven't been banished from the capital, but I think it might be best to leave until things settle.
But you are Master of Coin!
Not anymore, I'm sorry to say. I have been dismissed from the small council, and my seat has been taken over by Willis Tyrell.
But... Wait, was this Ned? Did he kick you out of the small council because he thinks you are the one who provoked Joffrey?
I do believe so, Cat. The king has been locked up in his chambers ever since the trial by combat, but he did send a command that Lord Stark is in charge of the capital. So if I have been dismissed, Lord Stark is the one who did it.
He is taking even my last friend from me,
Catelyn thought. But we will write, Cat, Peter continued, because I have been hearing rumours from the Vale. It seems your sister is unwell. I will go straight to the Eyrie and settle things there. She has not been right for a few years, so she needs a friend. Catelyn nodded, saddened. Of course. You must do whatever is necessary to protect Lysa and her son. You are such a good friend to us, Peter. He smiled falsely as they hugged. Now that he had been kicked out of the small council, he needed to take control of the Vale more than ever. If only to keep Lysa from being coerced into joining the Starks because her family ties with Robb Stark. He needed to have the Eyrie under his command immediately. Everyone burst into laughter when Rickard and little Adam collided head-on as they ran around. The dining room in the Lady Daenerys now held only the little crumbs of the little feast they had thrown to celebrate Rickard's first name day. Though the events had delayed them, Isla was the first to say they should leave King's Landing as soon as possible, even if it meant her son's milestone would be celebrated aboard. He is not likely to remember where we celebrated it, she insisted. Besides, if we wait and the winds are unkind, we will delay Sam and Gilly's wedding. Very unkind of us. So, like that, they went aboard as soon as Mr. Byron said John's wound was enough healed that it wouldn't bleed again, and there were no lingering effects of the poison. Neither Oberyn nor Arianne had mentioned the proposal again, though, when they parted ways, Daenerys made it clear that she was thinking favourably upon it. That was growing an anxiety between her and John. He was still hesitant, and he thought it was too dangerous. But he refused to argue the point before they were home, safely within their walls. And they were only halfway there. I spoke with Marjorie, Robb said, bringing a horn of ale to where his brother was brooding in a corner. She agrees that, since we will be staying for Sam and Gilly's wedding, that we should stay a few days more for Dany's name day, if you will have us. John rolled his eyes. I won't even dignify that with an answer. But you're not in a hurry to get home? Yes and no, Robb said, answering with a small chuckle. After travelling so much in these recent times, I'm looking forward to a very long stay settling down in Winterfell. No harm in spending a few more days with my little brother, his princess wife, and my beloved niece and nephew in his fancy castle. John chuckled too. Besides, perhaps you'll tell me what's wrong between you and Dany. I noticed something odd at first, but then decided to leave you be, as I know you like to brood and keep everything inside. However, my lady wife won't stop pestering me to ask you. It's complicated, John said, exhaling, and besides, this is not the place. Just tell me you're both fine. Physically, aye, John replied, chancing a glance at his wife across the room. It's a philosophical matter. Robb frowned. If that was your attempt at soothing my worries, you failed spectacularly. You're too practical for philosophy, brother. You always have been. Then he snorted. You have father's pragmatism down to perfection. Even more than me. Is there any other way to handle a castle in the north? John asked with a weak smile. Thank the gods we don't need to deal with the absurd levels of politicking of the south. I don't know that I would have the patience. You know, by the way father says things in the capital are improving, and back to how they were before, I dare guess this has been something recent, like post-rebirth. Don't say it, Robb, John moaned, and don't let Dany hear you. Please. Robb narrowed his eyes. Oh, I see. Is this the philosophical matter? He asked, and John nodded. That is not a matter to be considered lightly. Though given recent experience with capital politics and our current royal family, I could go for some philosophy as well. We don't have what it takes for philosophy, and this is not the place, John insisted. Let it go, brother. Uncle? Little Adam came pulling on Robb's knee. One, Uncle, up one. John laughed as Robb rolled his eyes and set his horn aside to pick up his nephew. I told you not to let him bully you, John said. Well, I have to enjoy my time with my favourite nephew, Robb said, putting the boy sitting on his shoulders. He's your only nephew, John pointed out, but the older brother only waved him away and started running around the room.
Dear Gendry, I do not know what the gossip has already, if at all, managed to make its way north. I know I promised in my last letter that I would attend Lord Tarley and Lady Gilly's wedding, but I am afraid I could not. You see, the prickly lion, Joffrey, attacked my lady sister. She is recovering, but she had a couple of broken ribs, and another 2 were bruised, so she could not travel. I could not leave her now. I do not know if it is odd or not, but Sansa and I always fought a lot. There was a time we really hated each other, but that has changed recently. We understand each other now, at least better than we did before. I saw what that monster did to her, and I just cannot leave her behind. I know it is silly, because Joffrey is dead. He died trying to attack Robb from behind after he'd lost his trial by combat, and my Lord Father has a lot of guards around us now. But I guess I am being as stupid as I always accused Sansa of being. I hope you can forgive me for breaking my promise, but we can still write, and my sister needs me here in the capital, or I need to be here. I do not know, I'm going to stop writing now. I suppose I will see you again when I go up there for Lady Lyanna's and Lord Starling's name days at year's end. Hit Hot Pie so he will write, would you? I can bet he is skipping his lessons, so feel free to drag him to those. Or tell Nymeria I'm asking her too. She will certainly understand. And tell him that I miss his cooking, even with all we have here. Your friend, Arya. Their arrival at the Midnight Fortress was, thankfully, without any delays and nothing unpleasant happening. Lady Tarley and her daughter arrived only a couple of days later, and the lady was gracious in every sense of the word. If she had had any reservations about her son's bride, they were obviously gone now, as she treated Gilly like a daughter. She only complained a bit about the fact that Jon had chosen to marry in the Godswood instead of the little sept built in the village, but Sam was adamant. The Seven never gave me any graces, so I pray the all gods will, the groom insisted. Besides, I am a lord of a northern holdfast, and in the north they follow the old gods. And although the northern ceremony was simple, Lady Tarley and Tala insisted on helping. Once the girl heard that Gilly was still having her trousseau made, since she didn't have a lot before Sam rescued her, she insisted in stitching as many pieces as she could manage. Melissa badgered her son endlessly on his lack of a proper sigil, until Sam relented and allowed his mother and future wife to come up with one. You and Lady Sansa would be fast friends, Isla said as she and Tala sat embroidering. The girl beamed. If my Lord Father allows it, I think I should enjoy greatly the opportunity to go to the capital and meet Lady Sansa. My Lady Mother mentioned she was not able to travel. No, travelling was not advisable, which is why she and Lady Arya remained in the capital, Isla said. Then she proceeded to talk about Gilly's trousseau, changing the subject for a more pleasant direction. Benjen watched as Jon paced around his solar, taking a moment to absorb all the news. So this is what has you worried since King's Landing? Aye, Jon replied, not ceasing his pacing, but not only that. Oh, you mean there's something graver than the Martells proposing an alliance and your wife being only too eager to accept it in order to raise a rebellion and take the throne? Jon sighed. I know why Dany is frustrated. We are still vulnerable. Twice now we were almost fatally attacked. Once Cersei sent an assassin to kill Dany, knowing she was pregnant, and I almost lost her and our son. And then that merchant sent an assassin to kill our son in his crib. And say what you will, but if that merchant was guilty, then I doubt he did it by himself. What do you mean? Benjen asked. That man was angry that he was ruined, and his fortune was gone because father cut the corruption. He wouldn't have the money to send such a special band of assassins all the way to Winterfell. Hiring someone to murder the son and grandson of the Hand of the King would have been expensive enough without sending the assassins across almost the entire realm. Not to mention, why poison? And such a specific, cruel poison. Why not just slit their throats and be done with it? They took too many risks. One of us deciding to go to the nursery in the middle of the night,
even without the direwolves leading us there, would have stopped their plot. It was the night of my name day, John. We were too tired from the feast. Besides, you still don't understand. This little family thing we have here is more unusual. Other lords think of their children as merely their heirs, only deigning to spend time with them once they can respond with a coherent sentence. And most ladies leave the babies with their nurses. We checked on the children before we went to bed, and that is more than most do, but we weren't going to do that again. If the direwolves hadn't brought us to the nursery, we wouldn't have found them until morning. John felt a shiver go down his spine at the thought. I know that. But honestly, would a ruined merchant spend his fortune when a few weeks later he could send someone who could infiltrate the Red Keep? In Winterfell, there are only Stark guards. A newcomer is easily spotted. In the Red Keep, there are so many different sigils that it's much, much easier. And it still doesn't explain why he decided to invest in this crazy poison. If he wanted to use poison, there are several others that are quicker. It makes me think that whoever did this, first, has some sadistic tendencies, second, didn't care much about being caught, and third, was more worried about the mess than killing the boys. Besides, we have cause to believe it's the same person who tried to kill me when I was a baby. Are you thinking about the Lannisters? I wouldn't rule it out, John grumbled, but Tyrion seems to think his father wouldn't have been this cruel. That Tywin would have told them to just cut their throats and have it be a simple thing. But a dumb thing. According to Tyrion, Tywin prefers results, not frilly nonsense. That was theatre, Uncle, not simplicity. And that worries me, because it's an enemy I cannot name. They won't come again, John, Benjen said, standing up and putting his hand on his shoulders. Not only did we up the guard, but a man was found guilty of it, and there was a whole mess in King's Landing. Stafford Lannister will be paying the Dornish for quite a number of years, and it was Renly that made the decision on that one. And Stannis is fostering Tommen and Myrcella and Dragonstone. Jaime Lannister might be good, but he's only one against all of Stannis' men. Tywin Lannister has his hands tied, and he knows that. Joffrey is dead, and Tommen and Myrcella are safe in Dragonstone. And even Jaime is there. Stannis has a whole armada around that island. They are not getting in there and rescuing the hostages. Any move they make, Casterly Rock is the one that has too much to lose. And if it is, as Tywin believes, someone else, whoever it is, he will be shy to move now. If the merchant in King's Landing really had nothing to do with this, then he was framed. If it happens again, Ned will suspect the frame job, and then a witch hunt will begin. No one will be that bold. Now, come on. We have a wedding in a few days, and there is much to do and prepare for.
End of chapter. Hi guys, hope you enjoyed that one. That's a good one. Also, Catelyn, really? Lyanna is what, 2, maybe 3? She's a freaking kid!
And also, Dany's starting to sniff out for the throne. I know what you're doing at Dragon Queen, but please calm down. You haven't hatched your eggs yet. And also, I like that not only the protectiveness of the whole family, but also the bits about Sansa in the past few chapters. The fact that she's using fashion as a weapon, an amethyst in her wolf pendant, wearing purple to stand by Edric. I love that. Anyway, you guys know the drill. Like, comment, and subscribe, and hit that bell to get notified for whenever I upload a new video. Have a good day, night, or whatever time zone you're in. Bye, my guys, gals, and non-binary pals. I'll see you in another video. Take care.